My name is Catherine Miller. I have been dating my boyfriend Bob for 4 years, and we have been living together with the intention of getting married for 2 years. The only thing left is to officially register our marriage, and Bob has said that he wants to have a wedding ceremony once we have enough money. Personally, I think it's fine to have the registration done first and worry about the wedding ceremony later, but Bob insists on getting married before registering. In the midst of all this, I found out that I'm pregnant. I happily shared the news with Bob, but he didn't seem too thrilled.
Pregnant? Yeah.
He looked at me, furrowed his eyebrows, and seemed to say, "Why are you getting pregnant?"
So, I think it's better to at least get the registration done.
I timidly said.
Why? If we don't get registered before the baby is born, our child will be considered illegitimate. Even if we get married later, the child will be registered as an adopted child. That's just sad.
I see. But I still think it's important to do things in the right order, starting with the wedding ceremony. He said with a serious expression, and I couldn't say anything more to him. However, I was determined to get registered before giving birth. I didn't want our child to be considered illegitimate under any circumstances. I brought up the topic of registration with him repeatedly. But his answer was always the same. As I entered the final month of pregnancy, I stopped mentioning registration. My friends asked me, "Are you not getting married? Are you going to be a single mother?" My parents kept asking, "When are you going to get married?" But no matter what they said, if Bob didn't say yes, there was nothing I could do about it. Then one day, out of the blue, he said, "Let's get registered after all."
Huh? But isn't the wedding supposed to come first?
I thought so, but if we get married after the baby is born, our child will be considered adopted. It's strange to call my own child adopted. So, I thought it would be best to get registered first, even if the wedding ceremony comes later. I was happy that he finally understood. But I was also afraid that his feelings might change if I hesitated.
Well, let's register today. Huh? Starting now? It's strike while the iron is hot. Yes, it's fine now. Yeah.
What is now? Although I was intrigued by his words, I was afraid that his feelings would change after hearing such things, so I ran to the government office without checking the meaning of his words. However, even though I submitted the marriage registration, he didn't call us, and as I was wondering why it took so long, a woman from the city office came and took me to a place far away from him.
I'm sorry to tell you this, but it hasn't been 10 days since your divorce. What? 10 days since my divorce? What are you talking about? But you got a divorce, right? What? No, I didn't. But you filed for divorce after being married for 3 years. I've never been married, let alone divorced. Why would that happen? I'm sorry, I don't know the details. We just accepted the divorce registration. Who is the other person involved? He has foreign nationality. Foreign nationality? I don't know anyone like that. You're asking if you have no recollection of it whatsoever, correct? No, I don't. I see. So, does that mean you lent your name to someone from another country? Why would I do something like that?
In order to acquire U.S. nationality, one can marry an American person and stay in U.S. for 3 years. After that, they can naturalize to become American. There are people who choose to take this route to obtain citizenship.
No way! I don't even know anyone from another country.
In that case, it would be advisable for you to consult the police.
What about our marriage?
Given the current situation, we cannot accept the marriage registration.
No way! When will we be able to get married then?
There is a requirement in the Civil Code that states there must be a 100-day waiting period after a divorce in order to remarry. So, it would be impossible for the next 90 days, approximately 3 months.
Why?
It seems to be in order to clearly establish who the father is.
He's the father.
While I believe that to be true, it is a provision set in the civil code.
This is unbelievable.
Realizing that things wouldn't go back to the way they were and that we were having a heated argument, he came to us.
What's wrong? Did something happen?
Seeing that the official from the city office couldn't intervene any further, he left my side. But what should I do? Should I tell him the truth? But he had finally made up his mind to marry me, and if he found out the truth, he might cancel the marriage. And if that happened, what would become of our unborn child? But more than fear, anger started welling up inside me. Why is this happening when I didn't do anything? Why do I need to be frightened?
Hey, what's going on?
My mind went blank at the sudden revelation, and I blurted out, "The police," and ran out. But he was surprised by my sudden action and chased after me, grabbing me and demanding an explanation.
What the hell is going on? Hey! Catherine!
He grabbed hold of me and yelled at me.
No! If I don't tell him, it will turn into a fight.
I mustered up my courage and told him everything I had just heard. "Lending your name." His murmured words pierced my heart.
I didn't do such a thing. I don't know any foreigners, and I wanted to marry Bob. I would never do something like that. Ah. I understand. It's okay.
As he said it was okay, his face turned pale. He must be thinking of invalidating our marriage. That's what I thought.
So, let's go to the police. We can't let this go. We need to go to the police and have them investigate.
As I said that, he inexplicably seemed hesitant.
There's no need to go to the police. Huh? Why? I can't get married because of something I didn't do, right?
But, in, 3 more months we'll be able to get married, right? It's not really a problem,
Not a problem? Why do you think that? In 3 months, this child will be born, right? And if that happens, even if we get married, this child will become an adopted child. How can you say there's no problem with that?
But, what can we do? It's, unavoidable or something. Things like this happen, He desperately tried to smile and calm me down, but there was no way my anger would subside.
But, when this child grows up and sees their own family registry, what will happen? They will think they were adopted, right? No matter how much we explain the situation, they probably won't understand.
Well, it's just something we can't do anything about, We can figure that out when the time comes.
This is just...
It's bad for the child, so let's just give up here.
Why are you so calm? It's weird.
I'm not calm. It's just a fact that things turned out this way. Isn't it necessary to accept it? Despite his words, if you look closely, he appears calm, but he's actually anxious. It seemed like he was more concerned about me going to the police than about my history of divorce.
Why? Why is it wrong to go to the police?
Isn't it troublesome to be a police officer? What if something happens to the unborn child after doing such troublesome things? Right now, it's better to think about the baby being born safely, right? I'm worried about your body.
I see. It's just a trip to the police station for some advice. I don't think they'll intervene with our baby.
Even if you consult the police, it doesn't mean we can get married right away, right? If we could consult today and get married today, then sure, it might be worth it. But that's not gonna happen, right? So, it's just a waste of time to go.
A waste?
Yeah, it's just a waste of time. Saying that, he made me sit down and walked away, saying, "I'll get you a drink." As I watched him walk away, memories of our time together floated in my mind. Every time I mentioned getting married, he always found a reason to postpone it. He wasn't happy even when I told him I was pregnant. He looked at my growing belly with disdain. Every time, he sighed deeply and looked at the calendar. I didn't understand why. Maybe he didn't want to get married. I've thought that more than once or twice. And yet, today, he suddenly wanted to register our marriage.
It's strange, even though he said he wants to register our marriage, he's so calm despite what happened. He doesn't blame me, he's not in a rush. On the contrary, he stopped me from going to the police. Why?
Even though it's been 4 years since we started dating, I can't understand him. And suspicions continue to arise in my mind.
Here, I bought it. Coffee might not be good for the baby, so I bought juice instead. Haha, drink this and relax. Thank you.
I looked up at him and took the juice, but the suspicion still lingered.
Hey.
What?
Is it you? Huh? What do you mean? Did you make me get married? Huh? No way, why would I do something like that?
He laughed as he said that, but his smile seemed forced.
If I did that, I wouldn't have said let's get married, right? It's only been 10 days since the divorce, right? Well, I didn't know you had to wait 100 days after a divorce to get married.
Huh. It's been 10 days since the divorce?
I didn't say that.
I stared at his face intently.
What's wrong? Is there something on my face? I said it would take 3 months, but I never said it would take 10 days after the divorce. Huh? Is that so? Nah, there's no way, haha. You were just confused, and you forgot what you said.
Bob is clearly unsettled. As evidence, his nostrils are flaring. It's a habit he has when he lies.
Why did you do this? That's why.
Seeing my sharp gaze, he seemed to think he couldn't escape, so he gave up and drank the coffee he had in his hands.
Hey, why? Why did you do this?
When I asked again, he had no choice but to open his mouth.
It couldn't be helped. You kept talking about getting married. But I'm doing my best right now, and I need money for our future. I need it for the wedding. I said it's okay to just register our marriage. I never asked for a fake marriage for that. Come on, we made money because of it. So you were always keeping an eye on the calendar? Waiting for 3 years to pass?
Yeah, that's right. After 3 years, a divorce will wipe the slate clean, right?
You call wiping the slate clean? We didn't even get married after all.
It's not like we can't get married. Just wait 3 more months and we can tie the knot. After coming this far, 3 months is no big deal, right?
For that, our child will be born out of wedlock? You don't think that's a big deal? I'll have a divorce record without even being married. This is just ridiculous.
Who did you plan on marrying, huh?
Eh?
You're gonna marry me, right? Then whether there's a marriage history or a divorce record, it shouldn't matter at all since I know everything. If you were going to marry someone else, I admit a divorce record could be a disadvantage.
Family records aren't something to take so lightly, are they?
Lightly. Family records are generally ignored unless there's something amiss. Why are you so hung up on this? You're making a mountain out of a molehill.
It's not as simple as you think.
You're so stubborn. Try to think more flexibly. In my company, we still have a bunch of foreigners. Loaning one my name for 10 grand, imagine how many tens of thousands dollars we could get in the future. A strike on the family record is no big deal.
Why did you do this?
Heard the foreign folks at the company chatting away. One said he's been married to an American lady for 3 years. He said even a sham marriage would do, 'cause if you stay married for 3 years, you can divorce and then just live in the US to become American. But he mentioned it costs a fortune if you go through an organized setup. We're talking tens of thousands. He said he didn't have that kind of cash. So I asked him what he could afford. And guess what? He says 10 grand is his max. When I heard that, I just thought, man, really?
So you had me marry the foreigner for this?
Yeah. Great idea, right? And we got 10 grand out of it, though. I didn't expect we couldn't remarry immediately after the divorce.
That's why you kept coming up with various excuses to refuse whenever I mentioned the paperwork.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
So you were ticking off the days on the calendar.
Correct. It was nerve-wracking. We were counting down to the divorce, and you were about to give birth. Truth be told, I didn't want to adopt, it's my own flesh and blood, after all. That's why I was so eager for the 3 years to be up. And worried that the birth might come too soon, but thankfully, it all worked out, though I never expected this kind of accident. It's so cruel. My family record is tarnished because of this. Don't stress about it. In just 3 more months, we can file the paperwork and all will be well. I can't believe you think family records are this trivial. Nobody would believe this story if I told them. Then why bother telling anyone? This is a crime. It's fraud. If nobody talks, nobody will know. If we go on like this, I'll be a criminal too. If you keep quiet, it won't come to light, and the foreigner involved, as long as he stays silent, can eventually acquire US citizenship. I got the cash, and in 3 months, we can get hitched. It's all good. Is that so? Well then, let's have a wedding. Let's have a wedding, and 3 months later we can file the paperwork. You have 10 grand, right? Why the silence? You have it, right? The thing is, it's gone. I had suspected as much. He'd do something like a sham, a man who'd stoop to deceit. Certainly not for the wedding money, but there must have been another reason. My trust in him was crumbling, and I felt like he was fading away like mist. Why is it gone? Why, you ask? It was for the wedding, wasn't it? That's true, but there was something really important I had to spend it on. What did you spend it on? Well, actually, I had some debts. If I didn't pay them, things were going to get pretty bad, so I paid them off. What were these debts for? Well, you know, various things. And are you free of debt now? He didn't answer my query. There's still some left, isn't there? Well, sure, there's a chance. There are a lot of foreigners at the company, you know. I could make a fortune. You used my name for that. I have no choice but to go to the police. Why would you do that? Because it's a crime. Now that I know, I have to report it to the police. It's the duty of a citizen. No joke. I won't let you go to the cops. He said that, but I had already started running to the police station. Instead of catching me, he pushed me from behind. Due to being pushed, I tumbled down the stairs and my water broke. An ambulance was called, and amid the pain and anxiety, I was desperately trying to protect my child. After being transported to the hospital, the child was born safely, but he never came to visit, and I could never forgive him for trying to kill my child. Bob, a man who thinks lightly even of a child's life, let alone someone's life. I never thought he was such a person, but I couldn't help but resent myself for having been in love with him. When I got discharged, I went straight to my parents' house to talk to my mother. I had no idea he was such a person. After listening to my story, my mother shed tears out of both shock and sympathy for my distress. So, what are you going to do now? I was almost killed along with my child because I was lured into a sham marriage. I have no intention of forgiving him. That's true. So, have you settled your feelings toward him? Yes. I'm glad I found out what kind of man he was before we got legally married. Mom, the things he did are punishable by law, right? That's true. My mother picked up her smartphone and started searching, then said, "It seems like he could be charged with falsification of an official document. It could carry a penalty of up to 5 years in prison or a fine of up to $5,000. Up to 5 years of imprisonment? Yes, and it seems that it could be over if he just pays the money. It feels too lenient, doesn't it? To think that he could get off so easily after sullying someone's family register, I can't forgive him. I will surely get my revenge." I swore in my heart that I would make him pay for trying to take my child's life and for destroying mine, no matter what it took. A few days later, I left my child with my mother and headed for Bob's parents' house. It's been a while. Oh, welcome. Where's the baby? I have something important to discuss, so I left the child at home. Is that so? His mother seemed a bit disappointed, but it wasn't the time for that. Bob's not here, is he? Yes, it's about him. Seeing my stern expression, his parents exchanged glances, but as we sat in the living room, they sat up straight and listened to my story. Although it's quite a shocking tale, the other day I went to file a marriage certificate.
Oh. So you finally got officially married?
Yes, that was the plan. But it turned out that I had supposedly been divorced for only 10 days.
What?
Of course, I have never been married or divorced. When I asked who the other party was, it was someone of foreign nationality.
What? What about Bob?
That's the surprise. I was going to go to the police thinking it might be fraud, but Bob told me not to go. When I pressed him for an answer, it seems he had arranged a marriage for me without my consent.
That's ridiculous.
It seems that a foreigner can obtain U.S. citizenship by marrying an American woman, living for 3 years, and even after a divorce, they stay in the U.S. Bob knew this and had arranged for me to marry this foreign person, and he had filed for divorce after 3 years.
Did Bob really do that?
Yes, I've confirmed it.
That's why I tried to go to the police, but I was pushed down the stairs, my water broke, and I was hospitalized. I gave birth to my child safely, but I can't possibly forgive him.
That's terrible. We're really sorry. Yes. But I can't forgive him.
Of course not. To be coerced into a marriage and then almost have your child's life taken. That's unforgivable. I agree. What was he even thinking?
He was in debt. And he still is. Do you even know what the debt is for? No, that wasn't disclosed. Is that why Bob isn't with us today?
It's more that after he pushed me away, we haven't met even once. He didn't come to visit the kids, even when I was hospitalized. I see, that's awful.
So, I get that you can't forgive him, but is there something you need from us? More than a favor, I just wanted you all to know everything. I can't forgive him, so I'm filing for divorce. I can't predict what kind of trouble it might cause your folks down the line. So, I thought you all should know. Right. If we don't know, who knows what he might do again. Plus, things can't stay the way they are.
What do you mean?
If I sided with him after all this, what kind of person would I be toward you, Catherine? Catherine, it's only natural for you to divorce him. As his parents, all we can do now is to cut ties with him. Even if he comes to us for help, I will not be inclined to forgive him. Is that okay with you? Thank you. I couldn't ask for more than that, and I accept it as your decision. Also, since he tried to endanger our child's life, I'll make sure he gets what he deserves. Even if it earns me your resentment, it can't be helped.
What do you mean by that?
I'm going to the police and telling them everything. That can't be helped either. Making him pay for his crimes would be for his own good. Yes. My mother-in-law looked incredibly distressed. It's understandable, her own child might be arrested. But I came close to losing my child. Even though I understand her feelings, it does not stop me from doing what I must do. Hey, can you get in touch with Bob? Yes, I think so.
Call him. Why? Even if you're going to turn him in, it's better if he turns himself in rather than being arrested. Plus, he owes Catherine an apology. Okay, I understand.
Without letting Bob know that I was there and without mentioning the sham marriage, the mother-in-law merely said she wanted to see him and summoned him. Not expecting him to show up, Bob arrived, thinking he was going to get a home-cooked meal. But then, there I was.
Why is Catherine here? Bob, do you even realize what you've done? What do you mean, what have I done? Pushing pregnant Catherine when she was almost due, for starters. That was just Catherine tripping on the stairs, man. Catherine, why are you twisting the story? It's inconceivable for a woman in her last month of pregnancy to just trip. They're extra careful.
But Catherine can be absent-minded, you know. These things happen.
And what about the sham marriage? Eh? How are you going to excuse that? Did you tell Dad? So, it's true?
If you already know, no point in hiding it, right? It's not a big deal.
Not a big deal?
Yeah, foreigners want to get their US citizenship. So, I just gave them a hand. That's all there is to it. You could say it's charity.
How could you? Catherine didn't know about this, did she?
Even that wouldn't have been a problem if we hadn't been married for just 3 more months. It's just that I wasn't fully up to speed with the laws about remarriage, that's all. Catherine was so fixated on registering the marriage.
When a child is coming, of course she'd be focused on making it official.
If we hadn't rushed, we could have had a proper marriage. It was just 3 more months.
And for that, Catherine's record is stained? You don't feel bad at all?
Nope. It doesn't mean I wasn't going to marry her. If she's marrying me, there's no problem, right? But now she's talking about going to the police, and that's where she's messing up.
Catherine says she's not gonna get married.
What? Is that right?
No, I'm not. My feelings for you have faded.
What about the kid? But since there was no marriage, there won't be any alimony or child support demands, right?
That's true, there's nothing for me to demand from you in that regard.
Well, that's good then. I was kinda doubting about us getting married too.
What do you mean?
If we were married, I couldn't marry a foreigner, right? It's such a sweet deal, but if I married you, I couldn't do that anymore, could I? Even with a kid in the picture. Can't let such a deal slip through my fingers.
What kind of person are you?
If we're not getting married, it's perfect. You need money to raise a kid, right? Go marry another foreigner, huh? You can divorce in 3 years anyway. Just 'cause you registered doesn't mean you have to do anything. It's simple.
Officially recorded document fraud.
What's that?
That's your crime.
Why am I being accused of a crime?
Because it's a crime.
Huh, you'd have to report that to the police, right? You know from last time, right? You wouldn't want to be pushed down and get hurt again, would you? Or maybe this time, it'll be the kid getting hurt. So yeah, don't be silly and think about reporting me. You'd be better off lending me your name and making money together, don't you think?
No, I don't think so.
You're so stubborn.
Bob, what you did is a crime. Turn yourself in. What? Don't be ridiculous. Why should I turn myself in? I was just trying to help people. How can that be considered helping anyone? You pushed Catherine down the stairs. That's because Catherine. You just confessed, didn't you?
Confessed?
To what? You admitted you pushed her. And what you said about the kid getting hurt, that's a threat, isn't it? Stop adding to your crimes. It's just a play on words. I haven't done anything wrong. I was helping people. You always. Fine. I won't report you to the police. Catherine. If that's what he believes, then reporting him would be pointless. That's why I said I won't report him to the police. Are you sure that's okay? Yes, it's fine. I don't want to risk my child's life. Just live peacefully.
As expected of Catherine. You know what I'm talking about, don't you?
Well then, I'll be leaving.
Bye-bye. Time to look for someone else to lend me their name. Then I'll make a killing. I wasted 4 years on that idiot. What a waste of my time. But I am not done yet. I went straight to a lawyer to get advice. And I decided to sue Bob.
Bob, don't think I'm letting you off. I never said that. I only said I wouldn't report you to the police. Go to hell.
After that, I sued Bob. The lawsuit made the police take this matter seriously. The foreigner was deported. To pay $10,000 for deportation must be tough. Bob was sentenced to prison. He boasted at first about just paying $5,000. But his parents, upset by his actions, wouldn't pay it and didn't even visit him. So, he ended up spending 5 years in jail. After 5 years, Bob, having finally come out of prison, was met by the stark reality of unemployment. Disowned by his parents, Bob found himself without a support system, yet he seemed to think lightly of it, considering finding another woman for a sham marriage. However, women were not so easily found, and in the end, he only faced a new punishment, one of loneliness. Without a place to live and with a criminal record, he was unable to find employment anywhere. His living conditions were akin to homelessness, which led him to visit me once. But his request was for me to lend him my name. When I heard this, I naturally refused, thinking, is he still talking about such things? I told him if he didn't want to end up back in prison, he better get a job and work honestly, but whether it hit home or not, he left without ever seeing his child. I haven't heard a whisper about where he is or what he's doing now. As for me, I returned to my childhood home and am busy parenting with my parents. Although the childbirth was difficult, my child is growing up healthy and keeps me on my toes every day. Yet, I find these challenging days to be extremely fulfilling.